Good morning. Today I'm going to discuss reconstitution and the deviation of creationism based upon a systematic process rather than blood. And there's many motives for that. And it's basically the isolated set of the system being the creator. Therefore, it's a it's the pooled genetics, and therefore everybody has a right to redistribute and reconstitute birthrights from the source. So what they're doing is they're basically atheists. They're holy roller atheists that believe in the source doesn't exist. It's when you get to it, it's the body itself and the place that it is. But it gets a lot worse than that because then it's building up a lot of systematic things. And that's why it takes the indoctrination of the system. That's why they worship the party and the free loot and just vast distribution of assets, not to mention all the fringe benefits of the party scenario. I mean, it really is. A wild party is a selling point as far as for the perpetuation of the system, no matter the causality or the reactions of it, because they don't really care. All they care about is the system is creation. The rest of the world might pay for it. They consider the rest of the world their waiters. They're just waiting on the VIPs here, and then they're giving out the bread. That's all it is. They're waiters giving out the bread from all over the world, and redistribution is my terse opinion of what's really going on. It's all about and what happens is the reconstituted individualists are made up of this amalgamation of blood. That's why they have all and rather than worshiping the family as a whole, they've got to take it to the system itself. So the school system creates a certain structure, and then you've got some people are worshiping the universities, and some people are worshiping the system. And the law seems to be used as a weapon because the law can be manipulated based upon faction precedences or manipulation of factions. Basically, you can brainwash a population to seem to change their opinion in order to change the law, therefore to deem it factual no matter the cost. And that's a lot of what's going on. And what they're doing is they're building these machine parts that are based upon the collective, that are the predators that are doing a lot of the dirty work, in my estimation. So rather than expose, and so you've got your reconstituted individuals that are part of these wholes. So then you formulate these pooled, it's similar to the creationist system of pooled genetics, creating a new median, then building upon that. So then in order to do the dirty work and to protect the individuals, they use different machines that are created to attack as predators and try to claim it as free enterprise, but in actuality it's gone way overboard because there's no constraints. And it goes back to the argument of bears and the bulls. The bulls have become very well trained in order to work like a swarm. So whenever they encounter someone, this is what happened to me. I'm forced, not only I was hacked down, I was shrunk down to fall between the cracks, and then the swarm, the stampede swarms take any form necessary. And that's why it doesn't really matter the collective. It really is. It's collectivism, communalism, because anything I encounter all of a sudden uses the force of the collective to attack me, while in essence I am giving power to the collective itself through the systematic creationism. So they want to maintain the power by desecrating the source in order to keep the collective. So they use the figureheads, and they create, you can create any swarm mechanical transformer at will, basically, But the problem is they've gone rogue, and they are trying to destroy the source because they think that's independence. And they really, really hate to be reliant upon anything. They don't want to be, they want to, the system must be creator, so they're trying to destroy all the sources to be deemed emancipated, independent from the usurping of the power. So what it is it's the communalism of the genetics, reconstituting. So the God that is worshipped is actually the system that then reconstitutes. They don't care. They're atheists as far as they live on the island of Dr. Moreau creating all these genetic things. But in actuality, with me, it's radioactive, created radioactive gigantism. That's where the spin doctors get in. It's like the Dr. Strangelove used to rode the ICBM. What they've done with me is the spin doctors have done this. They've shrunk it down so much and tried to spin it so much that they try to turn an ICBM into a BMX, to do tricks. But in actuality, because of the exposure, you're getting radioactive. But then the spin doctors try to turn the radioactive mutations into cool. Say, hey, it's all right, they're cool. Our mutations, our radioactive mutations are cool. That's how a spin doctor works. They just keep spinning and spinning, making stuff up. And you can do this magic alchemy math that they work on. And it's all based upon the notion of, well, we can always buy your way out of it. It's all just print a ton of paper and then transform that paper, then buy up everything in order to be deemed right, then brainwash the public to think a certain way. It's factions. Because you can spin, flip-flop, flip-flop. That's how the swarm works. They flip-flop any way necessary to be always right, because they have to be right. They have to be right. And when you're using quantity like that, you can always be perceived as right. But the problem is it's way too many going on. The justification should be there should be a certain few potentially been able to spin a certain way, and see that's where you get into the bears and the bulls also. What's happened is you've basically got the bulls are taking on shapes of the bears, and it's probably like the Minotaur is probably my best estimation of what's going on. But this figurehead Hydra always, transforming as to whatever in order to protect the system itself. And then it divides and conquers in order to attack the source. It's always attacking the source. What happened with me, what killed me, was petty, small ball infighting. We never escaped the wood. We were kept exposed and hit. I was a constant. It was just the small ball infighting, and it just went way overhand and kept flowing into just crooked math. So the bears and the bulls or the bears are the balance to the or the balance equation to the bulls. The bears and the bulls are square. But what's happened is the bulls have taken over the bears, and so now that's a one-sided equation. And so that's where you get into just counterfeiting, in my estimation. You're just printing tons of cash, but they're controlled the law. And the way they control the law is, well, you've got different factions that work. On one side, you've got the church. And the churches are working like what they're trying to do is they're going through Louisiana as a Catholic entity. And so you've got the Baptists, which is my mother's side of the family, have contracted got some mercenary hit squads from other, so they've got the Presbyterian marriage, then they've got Episcopalian. Well, so basically they kidnapped my sisters, brainwashed them, and they're using their assets against me. So they're using my estate against me to maintain control, but they're distributing the assets. And it's a international bank of assets or resources that they're going through. So you've got, and what they've done is, and the church can rig elections really easily, and they've done it. In my estimation, the Bush's elections were rigged by the church, and I honestly think the Baptists are trying to be the me-eek, the me-eek, the greedy, And they're trying to inherit the earth. And so they got the Presbyterians that are connected with, and it's all based upon a ranking system. That's why I was forced down, fell between the cracks, so they can supersede precedents to extract. It's like a game of battle, where whoever's got the highest card wins. What they've done is they've stacked the deck, and the source that plays the most. You bet my life, Groucho. Well, they bet my life, and they're spending my wallet. So they've rigged elections to maintain control. So now they've got all these factions pitted against each other. I think in honesty, they just wanted to prove who was the varsity organized crime here. So they're all working together in order to see, but the problem is the North and the South are kind of playing against each other. The North now is trying to play on the international scheme. The South is doing the dirty work. They're the dirty South because they got the Mississippi River of assets that they're diverting into Atlanta. And so therefore, you've got the Baptists are going to be the meek that inherit the earth. You've got the Presbyterian that's connected with Cornell, and then you've got the Methodist, and it's all going through Louisville. Louisville seems to be the main point of the assumption. They're assuming a control of the estate. And so in my estimation, USA Catholics screwed up. They sold their soul. When I don't know if they knew or if they chose revenge. Revenge and vanity killed them, because rather than turning me into Louisiana should have been turned into a big law-bearing state, but instead it was hacked down and the bulls invaded, and now the bulls are in control of the bear. So the bulls have hotwired a fleet of bear league law vehicles. And it's it's the herd, and there's no balance to the equation. And you can look at that in deficits around the globe, because the United States wants to be the center of the universe, but they have taken on the gamer. They want to play the game, and they don't want any balance to the equation. And so now you've got out of control because the populace just can't control. There's no balance to the equation. So anybody and everybody has the right to spin it. And so it's just spinning and spinning and spinning. And so and now they're trying to emancipate independent. And they don't care about the world that they wreck. They want, they're just necessarily concerned about, and that's why they preach the patriotism, even though they're spending a lot of international dollars, and they want to be deemed the police of the world. But where's the sheriff of the world? You know what I mean? The police is considered like the urban area. The sheriff controls the county, the land. What's happened is the sheriffs have been, like I said, the bulls have taken over the bears.